Are you constantly struggling, juggling all kinds of tasks within your troop or pack? It is so important to start delegating that leadership out to other adult leaders and youth leaders. Today we're going to talk about how to do it. Hey, ScouterStan, let's talk a little bit about delegation. Now this isn't getting out of things, okay? This is making sure everything is covered. That's what's critical about delegating to your leadership. Now, if you're in a pack, you would be delegating as a Scoutmaster to your den leaders. Who's going to do the song? Who's doing the skit? Who's leading this? These are things that you need to delegate. Don't take it on yourself as the Scoutmaster to do everything. Scout leaders, it's a little different because it's youth-led. So you're really mentoring and coaching the leadership of the troop. So delegation is sent to them. So that's what's interesting about delegating different kinds of tasks that we all need to do. Now this delegation helps give the leadership some buy-in, some activity towards the goal of achieving a good meeting. And we've talked about meetings and all that kind of great stuff, and it's so important that you delegate those tasks so that you're not overwhelmed. And then those individuals need to delegate small parts of what they've been given. So it's very, it's a learning process. Now this allows the scout leader to be freed up for more critical tasks. It's really hard to focus on budgets and those kind of things when you have to worry about where are the flags. It's very stressful. So it's important that this be done. Now, as I mentioned, this does give the buy-in, the ownership of taking on those tasks. You would never give somebody a task that they couldn't possibly do. So it's important that they need to be tailored towards that individual. If you know that person knows how to create something incredible, that's the kind of jobs you delegate to them. So that is creative people. Some people are just not creative. Well, they say they're not, but we all know they are. They say they're not creative and they'll do the minimum. So you may not find that that's the best job. They might be best for something more technical or something that's more accounting-wise. That might be a great thing. So there's a lot of different tasks that go on within a troop or a pack. And delegating those things out is very important. What's also important is a good schedule. Every troop and pack and crew and ship and everything in scouting needs a good year plan. We do have an old, it's an old video. Check that out. And it talks about Journey to Excellence, which we have phased out and gone into something new. Look for the video. Okay. I will insert it eventually. So when it happens. But because of that, because we're not using it, it doesn't mean it goes away. We can still use the basic principles in that. So print out an old copy and kind of use that as your guideline for that planning seminar. So definitely look into that. Now, understanding the strengths and qualities of your youth and your adults is important from a leadership standpoint. You may have something like a blue and gold coming up. Well, you need some good adult leaders that know how to decorate and make arrangements. It might be a potluck where you need a lot of coordination of who's making what. Plates and napkins. That should not fall on one individual. It should be divided up to many and try to stylize those tasks to those who really can do those tasks. That's the great thing about it. In a troop situation, you don't want to overwhelm your senior patrol leader with every single thing. It can be overwhelming. So you need to, when you're talking with your senior patrol leader, because they're running the troop, you may want to say, well, this would be a really good idea for the radioactive moose to handle. Okay, that patrol has in the past been able to organize those things. You give them a little heads up, okay, of what your ideas are on who might be best to kind of put smaller tasks towards. You don't want to overwhelm your senior patrol leader. So as an adult leader, you need to kind of push that forward so that they know where to delegate to. One of the big things that is important when delegating, you have to let that individual know what it's like when that job is completed. You have to think with the end in mind. That is one of those things that we teach in Woodbatch. We talk about that constantly. So you need to delegate them, but you need to say, I would just think it would be great if all the decorations were up when we got there. Okay, that would be awesome. You need to set that goal for that tasks. These are things that adult leaders kind of miss the point. They say, well, I want you in charge of decorations. They don't know when it's going to be up, where it's going to be. These are all the W's and the H. So it gets a lot more involved. But you have to give them an idea of what it's going to be like when it's completed. And that's really the key to delegation. Not only give them the job, but tell them what your goal is in that job. Hey, before we go any further, I want to make sure that you're invited to the Campfire Chat. Now, this is our live meeting we have each month on the first Sunday, starting at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. This is a fantastic way to get involved with live chat, and we have special guests. We have all kinds of neat things that go on. So definitely check that out. I also want to thank all of the Patreon members of this channel. In addition to that, I also want to thank all of the channel members right here on this channel. They have a fantastic group of people on this channel. They get a lot of perks. They get a lot of little icons and all kinds of neat stuff. But definitely check that out. If you're interested in becoming a member, definitely hit the little join button. It'll tell you more information. That's a great way to make this channel even better. Make it a part of what you do. And I'm so proud of you. We're just gonna jump right back in. Now, there are some strategies for delegating tasks. Usually it depends on what kind of unit you're in. If you're in a Cub Scout unit, that is leader-led. The leaders are the ones that take on those tasks. Now, if they have a den chief, they can kind of give them some buy-in by giving them some of parts of the task. Not the whole thing, but just parts of it, so that they can be involved in that realm. But most of the time with Cub Scouts, you're dealing with adults from the leadership standpoint. The den leader deals with the Cub Scouts. The den chief works with the Cub Scouts and the den leader. So that's kind of that realm. Now, in a troop, a crew, or a ship, there's a little more regimented thing, and it's all youth-led. The youth run those things. And the leadership is there to be the mentor, the facilitator, the coach for the leaders, the senior patrol leader, the assistant senior patrol leaders, the patrol leaders. The Scoutmaster team is really the one that's going to be there working with those leaders and giving those tasks. The Scoutmaster might give the task to his team for certain things. There might be, if you're working in a huge troop, there may be a need for multiple Scoutmaster conferences. The Scoutmaster has the authority to tell other assistant scoutmasters, I need you to do these 2 scouts for their next rank advancement so that they can do their review. So you need to be able to delegate that appropriately. You wouldn't give that to the youth. Now, giving them clear instructions like that is critical. For everything you delegate, you need to be able to articulate exactly what you need and what you intend to have from that delegated task. It's so important to have that end in mind so that you can articulate exactly the thing that you need from that leader. Now, sometimes you need to break it down into parts, into steps, depending on the individual, the leader. If you feel that they need a little more guidance, it's important to tell them the big picture, but tell them as you go. Remind them of the different parts. So breaking up these huge tasks into small parts, they can sub-delegate that to others. And that is a huge leadership skill. You want to have that in a patrol, so that if you have a huge thing like a camporee, that sends shivers down the spine of a lot of adult leaders. But that's a lot of work. But if you delegate it all, it works wonderful. Things work out just fantastic. The scouts are happy, you're not stressed out. So it's important to look at the end in mind and make sure that you break it up into parts that can be done. Not all at once. Some things take time, and that's important to understand. It would be wonderful if you could tell them once and they would do it perfectly. You may need to manage that a little better and be able to talk to them and say, hey, how's it going? What's your problems? What have you got done so far? That kind of thing. That's management, and that's a big thing. You are the leader, the top leader of that unit. You need to be able to communicate that down the line. That would decreases the leadership stress. Believe me, it is so important. Effective communications. Last season we did a 2-part thing on communication. Communication is so critical to being able to delegate. Without that communication, you're not getting the message through. You're going to have to go back several times. So use your communication skills. It's so important. And this is true all the way down, okay? Whether it be the Scoutmaster to the Assistant Scoutmaster to the Senior Patrol Leaders to the Assistant Senior Patrol Leaders to the Patrol Leaders. It's got to be handled and communicated clearly by everyone in that group. It can become like the old game telephone, where a word is said at the beginning and it goes all the way around, and by the time it gets back to them it's totally different. Imagine if that's a task, something you've delegated you needed. It's so important to communicate and articulate well what you need, and use that feedback. Feedback is a gift. You can bring that back a lot and kind of tailor what you're doing towards a goal, towards that goal of what you want at the end. That is so important, and being able to do that. Now, in that game, if you were to have somebody say every third person, they have to say it out loud, and the manager could say, no, it was bird, not burnt. Okay? See, that's the thing. You got to have that feedback, that circle. By the time it gets to the end of the line, it won't be any fun, because that's kind of the neat thing about the phone chain that in that game. If it's corrected on the way, then everybody knows the word, so they can get to the end. That's the neat thing. Think of it that way, but don't treat it like a game. Definitely, you don't want to set people up to fail. That's not very scout-like. So, definitely think about breaking up those tasks, communicating well. Communications is the key to really being able to delegate. Check out the video series, part 1 and 2. That gives you more of those communication skills. One of the big things is recognition and celebration of a task completed. This is huge. You have to recognize the scouts, especially with youth. They need that immediate recognition. It's important. Delayed recognition is no recognition at all. It's not, if you're not celebrating your birthday on your birthday, you're not celebrating your birthday. You're celebrating it another time. That's the important thing. You have to be able to recognize their achievement and be able to immediately say, hey, everybody, they got this done. Didn't they do a great job? That is awesome. It is one of those things when all the scouts get together and give them applause and say, hey, you did something incredible. And they're very beaming with delight. Believe me, anything you delegate to them after that, they'll do. And probably even better, they'll work so hard. You have to give them the opportunity. You have to say, hey, I need this. This is what I need. Then they go and do it. Creating that culture of delegating it's a natural. Once you get this started, you have your goals. They break them up, they distribute them, and they do them. It's amazing. It will absolutely change everything. All the stress. It's just management at that point. You're just making sure that all the patrols are working together and that there's no attitudes or problems. That's something that does come up, and that's management. Management is supposed to come in and say, hey, let's think more about the scout law, scout oath. That in a troop is fine. But this is something they're learning, and it's very, very important for them to understand that. And this will cause a culture of delegation. Natural. The patrol leader is told they're going to be doing flags. Who's holding the flag? Who's bringing the flags in? Who's going to have the troop flag? What kind of arrangement? Who's going to be calling it? The patrol leader can now automatically say, Billy, you got the flag. Jimmy, you got the troop flag. Ed, you're going to be doing the call out. The rest of you are going to be part of the flag team. That's the thing. When they first get there, they don't know it. And that's that learning process. They naturally fall into this. It becomes that culture. Of course, that's how we do it. That's how we do it. We split up the task. You're at a camporee and you got a pile of dishes to clean. You think the Scoutmaster is going to be concerned with that when they're too busy with a first aid issue? No. That's for the patrol to work out, and you figure out who the cooks were and who the cleaners were and so on. It's a matter of delegating, and that's the beautiful thing about it. You can actually start that culture going. We do a lot for our scouts, and it's critical that you understand. I appreciate all you do, and I'm delegating to you, watching these videos, learning from them, maybe taking some notes and taking that on and just kind of implement it. You'll discover quickly that your stress levels will decrease tremendously, and it will prevent burnout. If you can delegate all those tasks out instead of trying to do them all and doing them all maybe half, it'd be better to delegate them out. There's a lot more to this, and the key is keeping it all together through communications. Speak. A scout leader that is so on the pedestal, they're not leading. That's the thing. They need to speak to others. Be a friend to all the leaders, all the youth. That's the thing. They need to communicate. And that's a critical skill in scouting. And I appreciate all you do in scouting. And if you get a moment, I'm going to put it up there, the two-part thing on communications. Till next time, I'll see you on the trail.